Hi, welcome to this week's dynamic practice. It's called through line. That's a term from acting. It's a Stanislavski method acting term where, in addition to intentions and motivations, an actor would also use the plot devices as part of character building and acting. So to sort of tie the whole plot development together. In this particular practice, the through lines are from hand to hand, so we can enjoy the connections across the chest, shoulders, down to hands, and also the connection between head and toes. That will be used in many ways. Up to an arm balance is the apex pose. We'll also be standing on one foot in a balance pose, as well as headstand. If you don't do headstand, that's fine. There are other options, but if you do headstand against the wall, please find some wall space. If you don't need the wall, that's great. And also grab a block and a strap, and let's begin. So please start on your back, and we're going to work with the through line from arm to arm. First, you can relax on your back, bend your knees, and so your feet are flat on the floor. Make this easy for your low back. And take hold of opposite elbows. And you're going to lift your elbows up toward the ceiling as you breathe in. And as you exhale, take your elbows to one side and look to the other side. So it's like you're trying to look under the shoulder blade that's lifting. That's your exhale. Inhale, you come back up, and we'll alternate from side to side. So elbows opposite your head turn. And whichever, you can use the one arm to draw the other one across, and it's like you're trying to look underneath the shoulder that is lifting up, underneath the protracting shoulder. So go back and forth like this and feel the connectivity across the back, outer arms. One side might be tighter than the other. We're about halfway done. So change the lacing of your arms so your other forearm is on top. And go back and forth like this another few times. Yeah, inhaling in the middle. And you exhale into the head turn and the elbow movement. Okay. Very nice. And then you come back to center. So this was side-to-side movement. We're now going to take circular movements with both your arms and your head. In this case, the nose is going to follow your forearms, and I usually draw one half of a circle to the top as I inhale, and then I draw the rest of the circle to the bottom of the circular motion as I exhale. Of course, the breath is smoothing out, so the movement can be smooth. And especially as you're drawing the bottom half of the circle with your head, you don't have to lift your head. You can just take your head around in a circular motion without needing to lift it. This does help. For those doing headstand, this helps warm up the AO joint, the joint that connects your skull to your spine. Yeah, inhale up to the top, exhale to the bottom. We're about halfway through, so change the lacing of your arms again and change the direction of the circle. All right. Very nice. And so take an inhale up to the top of the circle. And then exhale, you can relax your hands next to your hips. Pause there. Breathe into the chest. So thoracic breath. Notice how the arm lines feel, how your shoulder connections are feeling. All right, great. And then from here, we take the arms out to either side. So we're still on the back. Arms out to either side. And with the palms facing up, as you inhale, you're going to externally rotate the arms, so you turn your palms back and down like you're trying to palm the floor the more difficult way. This is external rotation of your arms, that's on your in-breath. And then exhale, you internally rotate your arms, palm the floor the easy way, and see if you can keep going. By which I mean lift your pinky fingers up high. And you go back and forth like this. Inhale, try to palm the floor the more difficult way. You can also draw your shoulder blades into your back. And then exhale as you palm the floor the easy way and keep going. Your shoulder blades can lift up towards your ears. Okay? And one shoulder might be tighter than the other. The range of motion might be very distinct from side to side. Just go to where you can go. And to start warming up our low back, as you inhale, also arch your spine. Press the tip of your tailbone into the floor. And as you exhale, draw your navel in and press your low back into the ground. So go back and forth like this another few times. Start warming up the rest of the torso. Feel the extension of your lumbar spine on inhale. And you can feel the activity of your abdomen on exhale. Okay, go back and forth like this another few times. Okay, very good. So cycle through until you exhale and relax your palms facing up. So notice the length of your arms, the three-dimensionality of our arms, the through line from hand to hand, connecting through the midline. Step your feet and legs closer together. We're going to add a twist to a spiral movement. As you inhale, turn your head to one side. That arm, the arm that you're looking at, is going to roll externally. Your opposite arm is going to roll internally. That's your in-breath. And then exhale, you come back to center with your eyes up and your palms up. And then you switch sides. Look at your other arm. The arm you're looking at rolls externally. Opposite arm rolls internally. That's your in-breath. Exhale as you come back to center. You can add dropping the knees opposite your eyes. So now it's a full spinal twist. So arms spiraling in opposite direction and the spine is twisting as well. So you go back and forth like this. Breathe into the double twist. And as you go back and forth like this, so notice if one twist feels a little bit tighter than the other. This helps wake up our obliques, so the diagonal muscles across navel. Yeah, go back and forth like this another few times, breathing into the twist. Exhale, returning to center. And you started on one side, so cycle through until you're spiraling in the second direction, and then exhale, you come back to center and extend your legs forward. So legs are extended. From here, take your arms in goalpost position, so arms by your sides. And now we're going to make this connection from heel all the way out through fingertip. So as you inhale, press one heel forward, reach the other arm back, so it's a full body length, full stretch. As you exhale, you come back to center, and let's alternate sides. Press the heel forward, reach the same side arm back. And now we get this length. You can think of this as being from head to heel, heel to head. Of course, reaching the arm back includes some stretches around the side ribs. Let's go back and forth like this just to get the length of the body. We'll be working with the length in several poses. Core line here. Okay, so heel presses back. Heel presses forward. Fingertips reach back. One leg might be tighter than the other. Notice that. Or one hip. And you started on one side, so then you cycle through until you're stretching the second side. And exhale as you come back to center. Feet flat on the floor. All right. And hopefully we feel a little bit more interconnected here. We're going to take right ankle on top of left thigh. Draw the whole thing in. And we're going to get a stretch on the outside hip. So you can take your hands either around your left hamstring or your left shin. Draw the whole thing in. And as you're drawing it in, the tailbone might lift a little bit. That's great to get a stretch in your low back. Also breathe across your low back. Several breaths here. And this may give you a slightly larger stretch on the outside right leg as you press the heel out a little bit. So the leg doesn't really have to go anywhere. You're just activating the ankle so the heel presses out. You can open your right toes. So 2 more breaths here. Breathe into your low back and right outer hip. All right, great. And then you place both feet flat on the floor. Notice the after effects of the outside of your right hip. Okay, and other side. So please take your ankle on top of right thigh. You can hold either right hamstrings or you can hold your shin, your right shin. Draw the whole thing in and breathe into your low back. Okay, so side 2, if it makes sense to do it, you can press the left heel out to the side and open your toes. That helps. As you press the heel out, the lateral line may get a little bit more of a stretch. So you might get a stretch on outer left thigh, a little bit more outer left hip. And as you're drawing the whole thing in, the tailbone might lift. That's great. Breathe across your low back. You can focus on the stretch on outer thigh, outer hip. A couple more breaths here. All right, very good. Take a deep breath in, and then you place one foot on the floor, the other foot on the ground. Okay, and so that's our outer legs. We're now going to get inner legs. So this is Supta Pada 2. You're going to take the strap around your right foot, and we're going to take the right leg up in the air. So we'll start in the first position here. So you press the heel up, but also you're going to focus on this through line on the left side. The left heel presses forward. Head also, like you kind of lengthen through the spine, so the spine's nice and long. Lungs are kind of sliding away from your heel along the ground. So there's this through line from head to left heel. And you're going to keep that through line there as you take your right leg out to the right. So now we're going to get an inner leg stretch. And as you press your heel to the right, roll your navel to the left. Okay? Yeah, heel right, navel to the left. But also notice, basically this is mountain pose on the left side. This is Tadasana. So if you reference the midline, the through line, breathe into that several more times. And we'll be doing a pose where we're going to be standing on the left foot in this pose. So this is going to be a balanced posture as well. So you can notice, imagine you're standing on your left foot 2 more times. Take a deep breath in. Take a big exhale. And one last time, breath in. Okay, and you bring your leg back up. All right, and release the right leg to the floor. Please, let's try that on the other side. You're going to start in the first variation for a couple breaths. Okay, so left heel is up. Press your right heel forward and notice the through line along the leg, front side of the spine, the midline from head to toe, especially down your right side. And you're going to keep that through line as you take your left leg out to the left. Okay, so as your heel presses to the left, you can roll your navel into the right. So the second version of this means the heel's pressing left, navel can roll to right, and notice the through line from head to heel. And once again, we are going to be practicing this pose standing on the right foot. So imagine you're standing on the right foot, drive your leg forward by engaging your thigh, activating the muscles around your hip. So see if you can sense your midline from head to toe. 2 more breaths here. Take a big inhale, big exhale, and one last. Breathe in. Okay, and then you come back up to Supta 1. You can let your leg go. Extend both legs forward. Interlace your fingers and press both palms back for a hand stretch. So heels forward, palms back, and breathe down your midline as much as you can. So this is it's like both legs are part of the through line from head to toe. 2 more breaths. Take a big inhale, big exhale, and one last time, breath in. Okay, great, and then release, and let's come through hands and knees and take downward facing dog. So from hands and knees, curl your toes under, lift back into downward facing dog, and your thighs are lifting high, the heels are pressing back. So drive your hands through the floor and see if you can feel the connectivity from hands to arms to shoulders. And from here, you can also notice the connectivity from head to the sitting bone, essentially pubic bone, to lengthen the spine. So it's both connectivity and length. There's 2 more breaths here. Take a big inhale. Take a big exhale. And one last time, take a deep breath in. Okay, great. And then from there, you bend your knees, step up, come to a forward fold, and just look forward a little bit, lengthen the spine like we were doing in downward facing dog. Exhale, fold. We're pause here this is a warm-up version of intense forward fold. So bend your knees as much as you need to. Make sure your sacrum's okay with all this. And drive your feet through the floor, press your heels down, and notice the strength through the legs. The legs do not have to be straight to feel connected, especially with the feet pressing into the floor. So feel the connection of feet into floor. 2 more times. Take a deep breath in. Take a big exhale. And one last time. Okay, great. So the next time you inhale, you're going to come all the way up. You're going to reach your arms up overhead. Drive your feet through the floor. Arms sweep up high. Take a huge inhale up top. And then exhale from there. Hands next to hips. All right. And from mountain pose, find your block. We're going to take we're going to take side angle next. So at this point, I will mirror you. So I'm going to turn my left toes out. But you're going to turn your right toes out, and you're going to bend your right knee, and this winds up looking like a warrior, right? So we could always do that. But from here, I want to open up the side bodies to increase our balance. Back heel rooted into the floor. Block is in the right hand. You can take the right hand to the block to the floor. We're going to take it on the outside of our right leg. And what this is going to do is now this knee has a tendency to drop in. From here, you can press your front thigh into your arm. You can also press your arm into your thigh. So there's connectivity there. You're going to roll your navel up toward the ceiling and then reach your top arm up overhead. And it can go by your ears as well. So either up or out, but you're driving your feet down. You're going to roll your navel up and breathe into the sideline, breathe into your abdominal space, and regardless of where your top arm is, think of the length from the back heel pressing down to the lungs lifting forward and slightly up. So from the back leg through the front side of your spine. 2 more breaths. Take a big inhale, big exhale, and one last time. Top hand back to hip. Take the block with you. Press your feet through the floor to come up. You can straighten your right leg, bend your knees a little bit so now your left toes are pointing out to the left. Bend your knee, and you're going to take your hand to the block to the floor. The tendency is for the knee to want to drop inward. You're going to press the leg into the arm. Also press the arm into the leg. So there's this connectivity, so it's a through line of energy from the arm to the leg, and then you're rolling your navel up toward the ceiling. So whatever arm practice you did on the first side, you can just reach up, like we'll eventually do in triangle next, or you can take your arm overhead, whatever feels better for you. But regardless of what you're doing with the top arm, think from the heel to the lungs. So you're pressing that back outer heel down, engage it into the floor, and then you're lengthening through the lungs. And notice that connectivity through the front side of the spine, down the back hip and the leg. 2 more breaths here. Take a big inhale, big exhale, and one last time. Okay, great. Hand back to hip. Please take your block with you as you press your feet down, you lift up. We're going to switch back to the first side. Triangle next. So the front leg is straighter. You're going to turn your right toes out to the right. Bend your knee to start. Take your hand to the block to the floor. And then from there, you cut the front hip underneath the back hip. Roll your navel up. And then from here, we're gonna take the arms up. Sorry, take your top arm up. So you reach up, 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 up. Drive your back heel through the floor. Drive your front foot through the floor. Feel the connectivity through your legs. And the top arm, you're reaching up. It's almost, so what I want to do here is you reach up in order to feel the top lumbar spine supported. If this feels okay for you, your bottom hand can stay where it is. Or if it's available, you reach your bottom arm way out. Now reach this top arm up so we're not slumping down. We're actually trying to lift the lungs forward and slightly up. That'll be a cue for whatever arm balance is as well. So lungs forward and up. 2 more breaths. Take a big inhale, big exhale. And one last time. Okay, great. Grab your block, come all the way back up, bend the knees a little bit to switch sides. Hand to block the floor. You're going to cut your left hip underneath the right and drive your feet through the floor. So really feel the activity in the legs. The presence of the feet are on the floor. It's an active driving down. That's going to help you build the through lines here. So you roll your navel up, you reach your top arm up toward the ceiling. All right, so you're rolling navel up. You can draw bottom ribs in a little bit. Now reach your fingers up so you feel your top ribs, your top lumbar spine engage, and that's going to help you support if you try option number 2 here. Option number 1, hand stays where it is. Option number 2, reach your bottom arm forward. The tendency is going to be to like slump down. You're actually lengthening your lungs forward and slightly up. So yeah, press your feet down, navel rolls up. Feel this connectivity through arms, through legs. Very good. One last time here. Take a breath in. Okay, grab your block on the way up, hand onto hip, come all the way up to standing, and you can turn both toes in a little bit. Let's take a wide-legged forward fold. I'll place the block out to the side. Bend your knees a little bit, hands go down to the floor, and then from there, drive your feet through the floor, lift your inner thighs up toward the ceiling. All right, very good. So a couple breaths here before we do some variations to loosen up the low back a little more. Drive your feet down. Feel the weight of the feet active into the floor, like you're trying to leave an active footprint in your mat. Lift your inner thighs up. And then from here, lengthen the front side of your spine, which means you're going to lift your lungs forward and slightly up. You're then going to roll your navel to the right, fold down your right leg as you breathe into your left low back. So as our anatomy goes to the right, the energy, the breath energy, can fill up left kidney space. 2 more breaths here. Take an inhale, exhale, and one last time, breath in. Okay. Great, and then you come back to center, feel the through line through the front side of the spine, lengthen up, lungs go forward and slightly up, you roll your belly to the left, and as you fold down your left leg, you get an opportunity to breathe into right side several times here. So yeah, keep both feet anchored into the floor. As your anatomy goes to the left, your breath goes into your right kidney space. 2 more breaths here. Okay, great. And you come back to center, you lengthen your lungs forward and slightly up. Take an inhale, exhale, bend your knees, heel toe yourself closer together, and drive your feet down to come all the way up. Arms sweep up overhead, and exhale from there, palms to heart center and by your sides. Okay, great. So option number 1, well, let's just do it. From mountain pose, we'll take tree. So from here, I'm still mirroring you. We're going to shift our weight onto the right foot, and you can turn your left knee out to the left. The foot either stays on the ankle, and you can see my toes are on the ground for extra base of support, or you can take your foot up to your shin or your inner thigh. Just don't press directly into your knee. And then from here, hands can be wherever you are, but as you drive your foot through the floor, lift your lungs up. And feel that through line from foot up to lungs, up to head, crown of the head. but there's this engagement that helps connect. All right, and then you're coming back into mountain pose. Drive both feet through the floor and then feel your weight transfer onto left foot. Drive your left foot down. The right knee can turn out to the side a little bit and the toe can stay on the floor. If you'd like to take your foot onto shin, that's great. If you'd like to, take it up to thigh, that's great. But the foot presses into the floor, lift your lungs up. So feel the through line connecting from standing foot to lungs. Can even press almost like the back of your skull. Lifts a little bit. And you can notice the balance here. Regardless of what you're doing with your hands, notice through line. And then you come back to center. So you can do this again. You can do tree again. I will demonstrate Uttita Hasta Padangustasana with a strap. I'll place the strap around my left foot, because I'm standing on my right. So it'd be right foot on the ground, the left foot goes into the strap. And if you need wall space for this too, you can always take your left hand to the wall. All right, but from here, just like we did on the back, you're gonna keep your mind's eye on the through line through the standing leg. Even as this heel presses out to the left, roll your navel to the right to counter. And notice the through line. Drive your foot through the floor, lift your lungs up toward the ceiling. And take a few breaths here. As the lungs lift, the foot drives down. And so 2 more breaths. Okay, great. And then you can release that leg. Again, mountain pose. Feel the foot fall fully into your mat. And then you can transfer the weight over onto your left foot. Same thing on the other side. Please have the strap looped around your big toes. And you find the through line once you're up. If you're in tree pose, you stick with the through line, that's helpful. And also helpful, the through line for Uttita Hasta Pada. You press the heel to one side, roll your navel opposite, but mind's eye on the through line down your left side. So yeah, you drive the foot through the floor, lift your lungs. So it's like a pliable but strong beam of energy from your standing foot up through the lungs, perhaps even up through the base of the skull, lifts up a little higher. And 2 or 3 more breaths here. Okay, great. And then from there, you can release your leg, find mountain pose, drive your feet through the floor. All right, very nice. And then from here, let's come down into our plank series next. So the first plank we're going to do is forearm planks. And so you can interlace your fingers if you'd like. This is also prep for headstand. So you're going to drive your forearms through the floor. The tendency is to kind of hang off the skin of our arms. So feel the connectivity as you try to roll your elbows toward the inside elbow skin. Like here I'm hanging off the outside elbow skin. I'm going to roll my arms in toward the inside skin. And I should feel like just more comes on around your shoulders. Also slide your shoulder blades away from your ears and let's step back into forearm plank. Hips press down, bottom ribs lift a little. And there's 2 or 3 more breaths here, and then I'll demonstrate a variation quickly and we can get back up into it. So yeah, hips press down, bottom ribs lift. Feel the connection from heels to lungs. Feel the connection from arm to arm. Very good. And then so come out of your plank. The other variation here, you're going to step your feet together. You're going to take one knee out to the side. This one can bend. And then you'll come back to forearm plank. Other knee bends out to the side. And you come back to center. So pick this up if you'd like. You're either in plank or you're taking these, I think they're called like Spider-Mans if you go to a cardio class. We're going more slowly. And the idea is not necessarily how high the knee can get up, but can you keep the through line from back heel to lungs? So So this whole time, one knee is coming up, but the other leg, can you press that heel back and can you keep your lungs forward? So can you keep the through line connection? All right. Great, and let's all meet back up in plank. 2 more breaths. Take a big inhale, big exhale. And one last time, breath in. Okay, great, so come out of that. So that's option number 1 for those doing headstand. If you're familiar with headstand and you have no issues with it, either on the wall or in the middle of the room, get up in your headstand. We'll be there for about a minute. Headstand prep for some people may include dolphin, so you can keep your fingers interlaced. Instead of a plank position, you can step up, knees are a little bit bent, especially if your hamstrings are tight, and you're gonna lift your pubic bone up toward the ceiling. So this gives the arms are now in a place closer than headstand, and I like to drive the forearms into the floor as I squeeze my shoulder blades into the back. Okay, so that's option number 2. Option number 3, if you'd like to come into headstand proper, you can draw your heels up toward the ceiling and notice the through line. In this case, of course, the head's pressing into the floor. Lungs are kind of like, this is gonna sound like a paradox, but like lifting into the floor as your heels press up toward the ceiling. So bottom ribs draw in a little bit. So either headstand, plank, or dolphin. 2 or 3 more breaths here. All right, great. And so we can all make our way out of that, and you can make your way into child's pose. And child's pose, you can spend a couple breaths with your arms out in front of you. You can also spend a couple breaths with your arms beside your hips. Some of you might also feel it's a good stretch to come up into rabbit, which means you roll onto the top of your head, interlace your fingers behind you, and get a stretch like this. But if that's not in your practice, don't worry. Just choose an arm position. That feels like a nice release. We're not quite done with the strength building. But 2 more breaths here. Okay, great. And so we're now going to take our hands to the floor in plank. We're going to lower down toward chaturanga and come back up. And I like to do that twice. Chaturanga is different than a straight push-up, which in a push-up, my heart's going straight toward the floor. In a chaturanga, I want to send my lungs forward and slightly up. So you might have to like tiptoe your feet forward a little to be able to make that happen. So like the plank might be a little bit of a lift in the hips, and then you send your lungs forward. Keep on pressing your heels back, and then you come back up. So that's one. If you're not used to chaturanga, also know that your elbow doesn't have to be like bent 90 degrees, or you don't have to get your heart to the floor or anything like that. Just as soon as you bend your arms and your lungs are going forward, you're already doing chaturanga. Okay? Just to get that sense of the lungs going forward. For those who want a much more robust chaturanga practice, you can come into chaturanga while taking the knee forward, and then you press back up. And you try that on the other side. Come into chaturanga, other knee comes up, and then you come back up to plank. Keep the through line with the back leg. So I'm going to try one more time. Knees forward, and then you come back up, and then you try the other side. Knees forward, then you come back up. All right, great. So that's, we're going to use that for our arm balance. If you're doing that option. But to give the arms a little bit of a break, let's come around to seated, and let's take Janu Shirshasana next. Right leg forward. Please place your left foot in your inner thigh, much like we did in tree. And you're going to arch your back a little, roll your navel to the right, and fold down your right leg. You can use a strap on this, of course, or hands on thigh, shin around your foot, and press the heel forward. You can round your spine a little and breathe across your low back. Another few times here. Okay, great. And then make your way back up. Extend your left leg forward. Let's switch sides, right foot into inner thigh. You're going to arch your back a little, roll your navel to the left, and fold down your left leg. Again, strap around your foot is an option. Arms anywhere down your leg is an option. Press your heel forward, make sure the legs feel engaged. And as you fold down your left, much like in the wide-legged forward fold, you can breathe into your right low back. Another few breaths here. Okay, great. And then make your way back up. Right leg forward again. This time, left foot comes to the floor. And you're going to reach your left arm forward. This is Marichyasana A. So as you reach your arm forward, you can keep your other hand on the ground. If you'd like to also reach your right arm forward, you can do that. Okay. As you round your spine, your lungs are going forward. This one, because the left foot is on the ground, the tendency is for your left sitting bone to be up. It doesn't have to be down, but try to anchor it toward the floor. And my hope is that gives you a little bit more stretch in the left lower back that you can breathe into. For those who can take the bind, you can also wrap your arms around. Well, that still try to plug your left sitting bone down as you send your lungs forward. Okay? But whatever arm variation you're doing, try to root left sitting bone down and breathe into your left kidneys another few times here. Okay, great. And then make your way back up. Extend your left leg forward. Right foot comes into inner thigh. And then from here, right foot comes to the floor, next to the inner thigh, and then your right arm reaches forward. You can hold anywhere down the leg. This is option number one. The left hand can be on the ground. Option number two is to reach your left arm forward. Okay. And from here already, it might feel like the right hip wants to lift, like sitting bone, wants to lift a lot. So plug your right sitting bone toward the floor. If it doesn't get to the ground, doesn't matter. But you're plugging it toward the floor as you send your lungs forward. It gives a nice expanse across your right low back that you can breathe into. As you're folding down your left side, you can also, if you are familiar with the bind, you can bind. And all of those actions are still the same. Sitting bone toward the floor, lungs forward, and you breathe into the space in your right low back. Several breaths here. Okay, great. And then from there, you can make your way back up. Extend your right leg forward, and now Paschimottanasana is next. I usually start with a little bit of a knee bend to slide my sitting bones back, so you can really feel the length through the legs. Hands onto thighs, shins, peace fingers around your big toes if you'd like, or hold the outside feet, however you'd like. And then from there, you can send your elbows out to the sides a little, bend your elbows out a little, and then draw your shoulder blades into the back. So you can feel a connection from hand to hand, down your arms, around your shoulders, and through your torso. So through the stability of your chest. Okay, so for some of you, this is a really big hamstring stretch, and all you're feeling is the back of the legs. But even if you're up here, you can hold your thighs in a way where you engage your arms, draw your shoulder blades in, and feel the connection, the through line from hand to hand. So if you like a big stretch in the hamstrings, in the low back, go for it. But you can still feel this through line stability in your arms. And we'll pause here, another few breaths. Okay, great. And then inhale, come up from there. Okay, great. So the apex pose here is Kaundinyasana 2, at least that's what Iyengar method calls it. So you start in a plank, you come toward a chaturanga, you draw a knee up, and then you're going to send your lungs forward enough that potentially the back foot lifts up off the floor. The other leg can be bent or straight. I'm describing this now because it's hard to do this and describe it at the same time, but hopefully my cues make sense. From your plank, you're going to send your lungs forward in the chaturanga, send one knee up on top of your thigh, and then as your lungs go forward, you press your heel back, and you can either lift your leg up, spread the leg out, drive the heel out, all right? And you come back out of that. So the elbow may have to come in a little bit so you can support your ribs with your arm. One arm's on top. If this looks like you don't want to do it at all, you can do those other precursor practices, including chaturanga to the knee out, and do a couple of those push-ups. Or if your wrists don't like being on the ground, you can go back to the forearm plank and the Spider-Mans. You see how this is kind of the same form. And the idea, the whole thing is about the through line from the heel to the lungs. And so in Kaundinyasana, as I come into chaturanga, my lungs are going forward. Lungs are going forward. I can press the heel out to the side, and as my lungs go forward, I press my heel back. So there's a through line all the way from lungs to heel, from heel to lungs. So I'll give you another 30 seconds to try to practice that. Your face is pretty close to the ground. Some people also just headbutt the floor, almost like preemptively. So if that would make you kind of happier in the pose, just press your head down, but send the lungs out. All right, and so to me that's fun. It's challenging. It's definitely a huff and puff practice. That's another couple breaths here, depending on how you're feeling. If you've had enough, just spend the last couple breaths in some kind of plank, either with your hands driving through the floor or your forearms on the ground, and feel the connectivity from arm to arm through the torso. That's a very essential thing to understand with arm balances of any type. Okay, great. Take a deep breath in. All right, and then come back into Balasana. You're going to reach your arms forward, or you're going to take your arms back and breathe more slowly, more deeply. This is where we've done a fair amount of practice today. Okay, great. And then from here, I'm going to mirror you again. So I'm going to lie on my left forearm, but you'll stay on your right. So you can lie facing me with your right forearm on the ground. This is if you feel like you wanted to get a little bit more strength training here. You can do these upper options, but the first one we're doing is basically just like tree pose. And you can press that heel forward and the lungs lift forward and slightly up. So this is a variation of Anantasana. If you'd like to, you can take the strap or take your peace fingers around and press the heel up. Okay. This is the more yin practice. If it feels available, you can start in side plank, I'm sorry. Start in side plank, lift your hips up, and then from here, make the same kind of connection to the top foot and press your heel up toward the ceiling. Okay, so this is a through line from bottom heel to the lungs. And you're breathing, breathing, breathing. Okay, if you're in the more yin pose, lift the heel up a little higher. Great, and then exhale from there. Release. Let's go on to the other side. So forearm on the ground, top foot on the thigh. Yeah, and as your left heel presses forward, the lungs go forward and slightly up. So heel in one direction, lungs in the opposite direction. Option number 2 for the yin style is you press the heels up. The top heel lifts up toward the ceiling. Take hold of the foot either with a strap or with your hand in any which way. If you'd like that more active practice, you take the side plank first. Lift your hips up toward the ceiling. You can either take tree pose, like the leg options are the same. So you press the heel up. And there's a through line from the down leg through the lungs. Try to find the through line, try to breathe into the through line. Okay. Very good. Take a deep breath in and then exhale from there. Release. Lie on the back and either take Viparita Karani. You're going to hug your knees into the chest. Or if it feels available, you take happy baby pose and draw your knees toward the floor. All right, and if you want any more hamstring stretch, you can also take your toes back a little bit. As you're holding your knees or holding your legs, see if in a much less intense way, you can keep that connectivity, that through line from hand to hand. So, especially if the hamstrings are tight, oftentimes people just kind of like, it's almost like they're like clenching a fist and then their arms are completely relaxed. See if you can hold your feet with firmness, but also keep some energetics and some sense of collection through the arms, around your shoulders. And then from here, keep your right foot where it is, your right knee where it is, and step your left foot on the ground. Okay, so if you're hugging your knee into the chest, do that. Keep on doing that on your right side, or happy baby pose, do that on the right side. And you can either stay here, or if it's available, you send your left heel forward. And you can notice the through line from left heel through the lungs. Breathe into abdomen. A few breaths here. Okay, and then please draw your knees into chest again, or you can take hold of feet. From here, the left knee stays in, or your left foot stays in, and you place the right foot on the ground. Okay, so notice that connectivity through the arm. This is very similar to side angle on the left, that connectivity between arm and leg. And then the head to toe connectivity, head to heel, as you slide your heel forward. Notice the connectivity, the through line down your right side. And several breaths here, breathe into lower abdomen. All right, very good. Take one last deep inhale into abdomen, and then exhale. Take knees into chest again, or a happy baby pose. Take a deep breath in, and then exhale from there, release. Okay, and so with your feet on the floor, drop your knees to one side. Arch your back here, take a deep breath in, squeeze the muscles in your low back, And then exhale, bring everything back to center and drop your knees to the other side. Inhale, arch your back, squeeze all the muscles in your lumbar spine. And exhale, come to center. Let's do those once more per side. Knees to one side, squeeze the muscles in your back where you can breathe in the belly. Exhale, release. And your knees to the second side, squeeze the muscles in your low back, breathe in the abdomen. And exhale, come back to the center. Okay, great. And then the last pose before final relaxation could also be your final relaxation pose. The block's going to be close to the wall, and we're going to take our legs up the wall. So this is about as much space as I need. I usually start kind of off the block on the side, and then bring one foot up, other foot up. The hips support the block. If you need to kind of like back crawl yourself in toward the wall, your sitting bones don't need to be on the wall. Ideally, they're close so we're not hanging off the knees too much. All right, but after a practice that was full of engagement and strength training, I am hoping you're looking forward to relaxing the legs a little bit. Ultimately, if you don't have some wall space, you can always take your legs up furniture. You can even take your legs up on a chair. The knees would still be bent, but that'd be fine with me. But what I like about this is there's a gentle inversion because hips are above the heart. So if your sacrum is on the block, your hips are slightly elevated relative to the heart, and so our abdominals instead of settling in toward pelvic floor, it actually gets a chance to give the lower abdomen some space, and the weight of your abdomen shifts toward diaphragm, which for me also allows you to really sense the nature of your breathing. So belly breath. And so legs are relaxed. Yogi's choice on arms, they can be out by your sides, underneath your head, in goalposts somehow. But after all that recruiting and stability, we can now enjoy the space in the legs, the space around your arms. And pause here for at least another minute. Taking intuitively deep inhales and exhales. Okay, and so if this feels like a good place to also take final relaxation, you can stay here if you'd like to take your feet together, knees out to the sides or anything like that. If you want to take a little variation for your legs, go ahead. If you'd like to take final relaxation on your mat, you can roll to one side, come back onto your mat and lie flat on the floor there. All right. Yeah, and continue relaxing as much as you can. We did a lot of work today on making connections from arm to arm, from head to heel, upper body, lower body. And as I briefly described at the top of the class, the through line is about using plot devices to make sense of your character. So just as we're relaxing our through lines physically, also see if you can relax your intellectual through lines, your emotional through lines, all the plot devices that you've used to build your character over your life. Not that they're not important, but see if you can relax your through lines and enjoy each moment over the next 2 minutes. Relax as much of your conditioning as you can. And enjoy your physical presence, any environmental sounds, sound of my voice, the sounds inside your home, maybe coming from outside your home. Enjoy them for what they are. Okay. Very good. So from here, start taking some deeper inhales and exhales. You can get reacquainted with the body parts through breath, through wiggling fingers, wiggling toes. If your legs are still up the wall, please bend your knees so the soles of your feet are on the wall. You can press into the wall gently to lift your hips off your block, slide the block out from underneath, and lower your hips to the ground. And then continue wiggle fingers, wiggle toes, make some intuitive movements with the spine. And then we can all draw our knees into chest and take a deep breath into low back. Okay. And you can roll over onto one side. Notice how it feels to change orientation after a period of stillness. And then from there, you can press into the floor and rise back up to a comfortable seat. All right, and then from there, feel a relaxation of thighs into floor, sitting bones into floor. And then add a gentle gust of, almost like a mountain thermal, a little bit of gust of wind up the front side of your spine. So your lungs are light, the back of your skull is light, and the neck, jaw, and face are all soft. Okay. Great. Well, thank you. I hope you enjoyed that. It's a shorter practice, but very intense in the middle. So I hope you enjoyed that intensity. And I also hope you enjoyed that the extra long release from the intensity that we've gathered in our bodies today. So thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Namaste.